What's up, guys? You guys know that we have the hacker residency group going on right now here in Danang, Vietnam. And for most of the residents, this is their first time ever in Danang. So obviously the residents are very busy and they're here primarily for the program, but it's their first time in Danang, and Danang is a really popular spot. So a lot of them did research about popular things they should do, popular tourist destinations, and they asked me for my honest opinion about which of these things are worth it and which ones are not. Now I know that their time is limited and precious, so I gave them my honest opinion about all of these places. I think I gave a really fair assessment for all of these places, but I realized that sometimes when you're making a YouTube video, you're kind of over positive about these things. You over sensationalize and you talk about how everything is amazing. And I know that content creators feel this pressure to be overly positive about everything, especially when they're talking about a different country. Because on the internet, if you're not 100% positive about everything, then for some reason it's perceived as negativity. And a lot of people do get offended. But honestly, I think it's really important to be honest about these things. And I honestly think that I'm being really fair about my analysis of these places. So I'm going to tell you guys exactly what I told them when they asked me about my opinion for these three popular places. Is it fun? Is it a tourist trap? Is it worth their time? We're going to talk about three of the most popular destinations you see online when visiting Da Nang: the Songcha Night Market / the Dragon Bridge, Marble Mountains, and 3 Bana Hills. So let's start with the first one, the Songcha Night Market / the Dragon Bridge. The reason I put these two in the same category is because they're literally right next to each other. And I think that if you want to tackle these two, your best bet is to go on a day where you can do both. The Dragon Bridge show goes off on Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday night at 9 p.m. So I think the best thing is to hit the Songcha Night Market around 7 p.m., spend 2 hours there, and then you can literally walk across the street, watch the Dragon Bridge show, which only lasts for about like 3 minutes. And if you want, you can go home right after, or you can go back to the night market and keep exploring there. So for me, when I'm talking about all three of these places, I break it down into 3 questions. How touristy is it? Is it a tourist trap? And what's the time commitment, and is it worth the time commitment? Now, there's a difference between being touristy and being a tourist trap. I know that so many people say like, oh, I don't want to go to the tourist places. I want to go to where the locals go. And anytime I hear that, I think it's so funny because I'm like, the locals are at work. Do you want to go to work? No, you don't. You want to do tourist things because you're a tourist. Look, Danang is a very popular city, and popular city means there's going to be a lot of tourists. It makes sense that all the main things are going to be full of tourists, because why would tourists go to the boring things? However, I do make the distinction between something that's touristy and that's a tourist trap. For me, something that's touristy just means that there's a lot of tourists there. Something that's a tourist trap is something that's designed to take advantage of you, and you're probably going to regret going there afterwards. The Songcha Night Market is actually something that I recommend to everyone that's visiting, but if you're here for a limited amount of time, then is it worth it for you? The night market recently moved to a new location. It's just right on the other side of the bridge, but it's changed the vibe as well. I actually hadn't been to the night market in over a year, but because all these people were here for residency, we decided to take a trip out just 2 days ago. Honestly, I thought it wasn't going to be fun. I've driven by it so many times because I live literally like 2 blocks away from it, but the night market used to be a lot bigger, a lot more sprawling, and it was a little bit more chaotic, which I thought was a lot more fun. The new market is a lot more organized in stalls. They're in rows. It's a lot more compact. And from far away, I thought it looked more boring because it's just like rows of stalls. However, I was actually really pleasantly surprised. The first thing to note is that before, it used to be an empty lot and they used to set up every single night for the night market. Now that they're kind of in like a permanent location and they have physical structures that are stalls, everything felt a lot more organized and a lot more legit. All the food felt a lot more clean. Previously, food stalls would use a lot of ice boxes, but this time they had legitimate fridges, legit stoves, legit grills. And yes, I know that it's new, but overall everything did feel a lot cleaner. I also actually kind of enjoyed that everything was more cramped together. It felt like you were more in the energy. Everything's a lot closer and there's a lot more stimulus, and for me it was a lot more exciting. When it comes to the food, I do think that the food is a little bit of a tourist trap. If you want to sample a lot of Vietnamese dishes in one place, then you can try it at the Songcha Night Market, but I think it's a lot better to just go to a restaurant like Madame Lan, which is very reputable, delicious, and has a huge menu. When it comes to seafood, I have a personal rule. If I can't have a reasonable belief that that animal was alive recently, then I just don't eat it. I've heard from a lot of locals that the lobster and the crab and the seafood that they have at these markets might be a few days old, and for me, I'm not gonna risk that. I think all the food at a night market is mediocre in flavor at best and questionable in terms of cleanliness and freshness. When it comes to shopping, I was surprised that everything was pretty reasonably priced. Compared to 2 years ago, there's not a lot of like really overcharging or price gouging anymore. For example, a t-shirt that might reasonably sell for about 70 or 80,000 would be labeled at 110,000. 2 years ago, I would buy Nike shorts for about 100,000, which is about $4, but they would ask me for 300,000, which is about $12. That's a 3x markup. This time around, I saw the same shorts at the same store, and the price on the sign was 120,000, but they gave it to me for 100,000 still. Things like wallets might sell for 100,000, and they might ask for 130,000. It's still pretty close to the final price. It's a close enough price that I'm probably willing to just pay the asking price if I was a tourist. Surprisingly, when it comes to clothes, bags, and wallets, the quality at Songshan Night Market is actually pretty good. You would think that maybe the Han Market or the physical stores that are in Danang might have better quality than the night market stalls, but I was surprised the quality is some of the better stuff in Danang. So Songshan Night Market, is it touristy? It definitely is touristy. I would say not a lot of locals. You'll have some of them sprinkled here and there. You can get things like sugarcane juice or fruit juice at the normal market price. So you will have locals that want to watch the Dragon Bridge kind of stop by the night market and grab a drink as well. Is it a tourist trap? I'd say it's pretty close to a tourist trap. I think a lot of people do regret it because they think that they're not getting like the local market experience. It's not really the local market experience, but if it's your first time in Asia, then I think that you should experience a night market. It's not going to be anything like you've experienced out in the West, in Europe, or in the US. Time commitment, it's pretty small. It's only about an hour, I would say, to go through everything. Obviously, if you want to shop around more, if you want to eat more and stop at some stalls, it's going to take a little bit longer, but in terms of time commitment, it's not that hard. Also, it's every single night. If you don't care about watching the Dragon Bridge, which I think you should, then you can go any day of the week. But again, I think you should go Friday, Saturday, or Sunday night so you can double it up with the Dragon Bridge. When it comes to the Dragon Bridge, is it touristy? Yes, it's very touristy. It's one of the most iconic things about Danang, so there's going to be a lot of tourists. Are there going to be locals there? Yes, there's going to be a lot of locals there. I'm not a local, but I've lived here for 2 years, and if I'm driving by the area and the Dragon Bridge is going to go off, I'm going to stop on my scooter and I'm going to watch it. It's still pretty cool. A lot of locals, especially young locals, will go gather around the Dragon Bridge when it's about to go off. They'll even be on the bridge blocking off all of traffic. It'll just be like gridlock with scooters and people. So every time it goes up, it is a thing that the locals will come to and watch. So in my opinion, I think that it's a really good energy. It's a really good ambiance. It really feels like community, and you'll have a lot of people, locals and tourists, watching it. Is it a tourist trap? No, I think it's pretty cool and it's very unique, and it's also free, so I don't think you'll regret watching it. Time commitment, it only lasts like 2 or 3 minutes. It's really, really fast. Overall, even though I think the Songshan Night Market is a little bit of a tourist trap because you can combine it with the Dragon Bridge, I think if you attach those in the same night, then it's worth it to do both. The next one on the list is Marble Mountains. Marble Mountains is a collection of 5 different mountains. It's called Marble Mountains because the marble is a combination of, I think, marble and granite. Could be wrong there. Definitely marble, that's why they call it Marble Mountain, but it's not like 100% marble. Out of those 5 mountains, there's only one that's open to tourism. It is the biggest one. It still is to this day an operating temple, so you will have monks that actually live up there in the pagodas. There are temples, there are locals that go there to pray. Now, when you go to temples, generally you want to cover your knees and you want to cover your shoulders to be respectful. To be honest, I think the vast majority of tourists don't do it, but just because other people aren't doing it doesn't mean you shouldn't either. I would try to be respectful, cover your shoulders, cover your knees. You can actually buy covers there too at the base of the mountain. There's kind of 2 ways that you can do Marble Mountain. One is to walk up and then walk around once you're up there, and the second way is to take an elevator up and then walk around once you're up there. I don't think there's really much to see if you're gonna walk up there. It's more just for like the nature and the exercise. I think the elevator itself costs something like 50 cents or something, so it's definitely not a price thing. It's more about what kind of experience that you want. That being said, I do think that Marble Mountain is a must for everybody who's visiting Danang. It has a lot of culture and it's very, very beautiful as well. A lot of people talk about the view. Personally, I think the view is like not great at all because you are high up on the mountain, but when you look down, you just kind of see like empty lots and resorts. So I'm not really going there for the view. I'm going there for the mountain itself, for the pagodas, for the temples, and just for the nature. I might be a little off here, but I think there's 12 destinations that you could visit inside of Marble Mountain. So I do think that it is a half day or an all day thing. You can get a map at the bottom and they'll show you all the different 12 destinations that you can visit. Again, I could be off there. It's like between 11 and 13. It's 11, 12, or 13 destinations. If your time is limited, there's one place that you absolutely definitely should visit. It's a massive, massive cave, and it's like the main image that you see when you look up Marble Mountains. It's definitely like the pièce de résistance of the entire mountain, and that's one that you cannot miss. Now, personally, I think that you should take your time and go through all the different locations and don't rush it. There's vendors up there, and it's actually not that price gougy, so you can get coconuts up there, you can get drinks, you can get water, there's resting areas, there's restrooms, so it's a place that I think that you should spend the entire day. So Marble Mountains, is it touristy? Yes, it's touristy. It's one of the most popular destinations. You're gonna have a lot of tourists. It's also one of the places that all the tour buses are gonna come and drop off like 100 people. So it is touristy, there's a lot of tourists. However, it is also very local. A lot of people go up there to pray. A lot of people go up there just to enjoy nature. There is separate pricing for locals and tourists, and the pricing for locals is low enough that people can go there on a regular basis. Also, you didn't hear this from me, but allegedly the locals can also kind of like get in for free by just kind of like giving a look to whoever's at the gate. Is it a tourist trap? No, it's awesome. Of course, at the base, because there's a lot of tourists, there's going to be a lot of vendors and a lot of people trying to sell souvenirs and tchotchkes. A lot of these things will be cheap quality. There's going to be things that look like it's handcrafted, but it's just like mass produced out of a factory. So if you fall for this and buy these kind of things, then you could argue that it's a tourist trap. But the Marble Mountain itself is not a tourist trap. The tickets are actually also very affordable. I think it's only a couple bucks. Even if you take the elevator, it's only about like 50 cents. If you don't do that much physical activity like me, then you'll probably end up with some sore legs and a sore butt. But overall, it's not a tourist trap. I don't think that you'll have any regrets. Time commitment, it is a pretty big time commitment. I think that if you do it quickly, it'll be about 2 hours. I mean, very quickly, and you only go to about 2 or 3 different destinations and you skip the rest. I think that the last time that Kim and I went, we spent around 5 hours there. And last but not least, probably the most polarizing destination is Bana Hills. This is a love it or hate it kind of thing. Some people will say it's the absolutely most tourist trap thing ever, a huge waste of time, and other people will say it is the pride of Danang. It is the most amazing thing ever. And I can't believe this exists. Now, for me, I think it all comes down to unmet expectations. A lot of people see that Golden Hands Bridge on the internet and they think it's some like ancient civilization that created this like bridge on the mountains connecting the heavens. Like, no, this thing was built like 5-6 years ago. A lot of people criticize Bana Hills and they say that it's fake. They say it's like, it's a fake French village. Why would I go to a fake French village in the middle of Vietnam? Well, it's an amusement park. It's called Sun World Bana Hills. Nobody goes to Disneyland in America and says that it's fake. Kim and I went to Disney Sea in Tokyo and we just say, oh, it's a French English castle. Why would they have a French English castle in the middle of Japan? Nobody says that. So I think you can probably guess what my opinion of Bana Hills is. I think it's pretty cool and I think it's worth a visit. But again, we gotta set expectations. It is an amusement park. It's a theme park. There are pagodas and things of Vietnamese culture that are mixed into the decor. But for the most part, the place is just designed for you to have fun. It's not supposed to be like a cultural experience. Now, I do think there's criticism about Bana Hills that's perfectly valid. But first, let me talk about the positives. First of all, the way to get to Bana Hills is through a cable car. And I think that's one of the coolest parts. Bana Hills is at the top of the mountain. You park at the bottom and then you take a cable car. It's almost a 40-minute cable car ride, and I think it's super, super cool. You see waterfalls, you go through forests. I'm not gonna lie, about halfway through, you're like, wow, this is actually getting pretty long here. But I think it's overall very, very peaceful. But you get really high, you can see all the way to the city of Danang, and you can see the beach. I think it's a really cool experience. When you get to the top, Bana Hills is actually huge. A lot of people, when they think about Bana Hills, they think it's just the Golden Hand Bridge. That's like one tiny little corner of the amusement park. There's things like Bavarian beer halls, live shows, restaurants. There's a full indoor arcade. There's pagodas and tea rooms. I will say there's a lot less to do than like Disneyland's or Six Flags. It's not a place that has a lot of rides. It's more about a place where you just like walk around and enjoy the experience and the ambiance. For me, it's a place to go with friends and just hang out for the entire day. Last time I went, there was only one ride. Someone told me that there was one more ride. It's not really a ride. It's like an alpine coaster. I think that's what they call it. It's like bobsledding. It's like a downhill rail. It's like 2 people in a little go-kart thing, and they just kind of like go down, get to the bottom, and they pull you back up to the top. It's not really like a roller coaster. It's not a ride. You do have to pay extra for it. I think it's like $3 or $4, not too expensive. So I guess in that sense, I would say it's more of a theme park than an amusement park, just because there's not really that many rides. One thing about Bana Hills is because it's very new, it's super clean and everything is new. Bana Hills is still under construction. It does get cold up there. The last time I went, it was blazing in the middle of summer in Danang, and we were super hot. T-shirts, shorts, we went out to Bana Hills and it was freezing. And we didn't have jackets, we had to buy some blankets and walk around with them. Now, the interesting about Bana Hills is if you talk to any local Vietnamese person about Bana Hills, they're filled with like immense pride. They're like, we're so proud that Vietnam can build something like this. It's something that's iconic on the internet. And when it comes to the Golden Hand Bridge, it's something that's pretty globally known. Always when you talk to foreigners and tourists in Da Nang, they're the ones that are gonna be like, oh, it's a tourist trap. It's not even Vietnamese. And something that reminds me of is when I lived in New York City, every person that lived in New York City would tell you like, oh, Times Square is such a tourist trap. I would never go to Times Square. The locals never go to Times Square. And yeah, that's true. But if you're someone that's visiting from out of town and it's your first time in New York City, I will take you to Times Square. Like, Times Square is such a quintessential, iconic thing about New York. And even if you think that there's nothing to do there, sometimes the fun of traveling is to go to that place that was just a mythical place in your mind and actually being there in person and being like, I'm actually here at that place. And I think Bana Hills with the Golden Hands Bridge is kind of one of those things. I think at this point, everyone has seen the image of the Golden Hands Bridge on the internet. And for most people, when they're researching Da Nang, they're like, that is the one place that I want to go see. It's so cool. And to be honest, it is cool. Like, the bridge itself is way bigger than it looks, I think, in photos. And when you actually get there, it's actually like pretty massive. Now, it's not a bridge. Again, setting expectations. It's kind of just like connects 2 points of the same place together. So it's kind of like a semicircle. So it doesn't really bridge anything, but it's cool. It's great for photos. The view is amazing when it's a clear day. And even if it's not, when it's cloudy, we've been there when it's cloudy, it kind of looks cool still as well. It looks like you're kind of floating in the clouds and the hands are coming out of the clouds and floating out of like the ether. So if you're spending a lot of time in Da Nang, it's a place that I definitely think that you should visit. It's very, very iconic of Da Nang, and I think if you didn't go, you would regret it. How touristy is Bana Hills? It's pretty touristy. Locals don't go there too much. The ticket prices are expensive. There are different prices for locals and for tourists, but still the prices are high. Most locals won't go there. A lot of them will go there once to experience it and to say that they've gone it. But again, it's like Disneyland, right? When I'm in LA and I'm living in LA, that might not be a good example because Kim goes to Disneyland all the time. But personally, I don't really go to Disneyland ever unless she wants to go. Is it a tourist trap? Personally, I don't think it's a tourist trap. I think if you created a false idea of what it is and you're disappointed, then it's a tourist trap. But they never advertise it as something other than an amusement park. Tickets are about $40, so tickets are pretty expensive. But once you get up there, it's not like Disneyland where they gouge you for every little thing. I thought the prices for food, snacks, everything, souvenirs, it's a little bit higher than normal, but I think still prices are actually very reasonable for what it is. Time commitment, personally, I think it's an all-day thing. I think you shouldn't rush it, especially because it's going to take you half an hour to 45 minutes to drive there, and it's going to take you 40 minutes to go up the cable car and 40 minutes down. Even if you spend zero time in there, that's already like a 2-hour commitment. I think it's an all-day thing. I think you should take your time, go up there with a bunch of friends, hang out, eat, drink, explore, wander around, take the Alpine coaster. So it is a big time commitment. This is one of the things that I told the residents at HRG. I told them, look, I think it's worth doing, but it is an all-day thing. And if you don't have time, I think that it's better to do something like Marble Mountains, something like the Night Market, Dragon Bridge, Lady Buddha, even Hoi An. These are things that you can fit into half a day or a quarter of a day and still get that full experience. Where I think Bana Hills, if you're just like rushing over there, up, take a photo with the bridge, come down, then I think it's too rushed and you're not gonna get the full experience. So hopefully that was helpful and hopefully I wasn't too critical. I was trying to just be honest about all of these things. Honestly, I think everything that's listed as like a tourist destination in Da Nang, I'd say most of them are pretty fun. I wouldn't say any of them are like super life-changing, but I think all of them are pretty worth doing. The only thing I could think of off the top of my mind that I think actually is a tourist trap and not worth doing is that like coconut boat thing where they like spin you in a circle. But that's a topic for another video. That's gonna be it for this video. Thanks for watching, guys. I will see you guys tomorrow back for the normal vlogs. Bye-bye.